Good morning. My name is Christine Morabito. I am a Business Development Manager and duly authorized hearing officer of the County of Chautauqua Industrial Development Agency, and I have been authorized to hold a public hearing pursuant to Section 859A of the New York General Municipal Law as amended, the Act. Today is September 16, 2021, and the time is now 10:05 a.m. We are at the Town of Pomfret Town Hall, 9 Day Street, Fredonia, Town of Pomfret, Chautauqua County, New York. The agency has received an application for assistance in connection with the following matter. Pomfret PV LLC, a limited liability company, duly organized and existing under the laws of the state of Delaware and authorized to do business in the state of New York, has a foreign limited liability company. The applicant presented an application for financial assistance, the application to the agency, which application requested that the agency consider undertaking a project. The project consisting of the following. A1, the acquisition of an interest in an approximately 24.5 acre parcel of land located at 4545 Van Buren Road, Fredonia, Town of Pomfret, Chautauqua County, New York, collectively the land. 2, the acquisition, construction, installation, and equipping on the land of 1, solar voltaic modules mounted on a steel racking system supported by driven posts. 2, switchgear, combiner boxes, inverters, and transformers. 3, underground and overhead electrical lines and poles. 4, fencing. 5, a concrete pad. And 6, a system of access roads, landscaping, and related improvements to the land, collectively the improvements. And 3, the acquisition and installation of certain furniture, fixtures, machinery, and equipment necessary for the completion thereof. The equipment, and together with the land and the improvements, collectively the project facility. All of the foregoing for use by the applicant and or its affiliates as a solar-powered electrical generation facility consisting of a 3.0 megawatt AC array. B, the granting of certain financial assistance within the meaning of Section 854.14 of the General Municipal Law with respect to the foregoing. And C, the lease with an obligation to purchase, license, or sale of the project facility to the applicant or such other entities as may be designated by the applicant and agreed upon by the agency. The project facility would be initially owned, operated, and or managed by the applicant or such other designated entity or entities. The applicant or such other designated entity or entities would receive financial assistance from the agency in the form of potential exemptions or partial exemptions from real property taxes, mortgage recording taxes, and sales and use taxes, collectively the financial assistance. Notice of this public hearing was published in the Observer on September 4th through 5th, 2021, and provided to the Chief Executive Officer of each tax jurisdiction within which the project facility is or will be located by a letter dated September 2, 2021. The purpose of this public hearing is to provide an opportunity for all interested parties to present their views, both orally and in writing, with respect to the granting of the financial assistance contemplated by the agency or the location or nature of the project. As set forth in the notice of this public hearing, comments may also be submitted to the agency in writing or electronically at the following email address: morabitk@chqgov.com. Subject to applicable law, copies of the application, including an analysis of the costs and benefits of the project, are available for review by the public online at www.ccida.com. This public hearing is being streamed on the agency's website in real time, and a video recording of this public hearing is being made and will be posted on the agency's website, all in accordance with Section 857 of the New York General Municipal Law as amended. In addition, a report or summary of this hearing will be made and posted on the agency's website, and such report or summary of all comments received by the agency will be provided to the agency's members. Comments received in writing will also be included in the report and any summary of this public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to be heard with respect to the project or the financial assistance?
Go ahead, what? You first. You first? Yeah.
I would ask you just to identify yourself, your name, and then I will receive your comments. Thank you.
Can we introduce ourselves at least so we know who's in our audience?
Sure,
Okay.
sure. You can go first.
Okay. I'm Zen Olo. I live at 23 Burnett Drive in
Okay.
Fredonia. My back property line is the town of Pomfret, and it's going to impact my value of my house. I probably said that. I shouldn't have said that. I should have just introduced myself. I'm sorry.
You know, I'm here to receive your comments, so thank you for your comments.
Okay, but I got more.
Okay, you can go again.
Right after everybody had introduced themselves.
Okay.
I'm M.G. Stafford. I'm with the Observer.
My name is Nick Danielson. I live at 467 Chestnut Street. I own property across the street from my house up to the line, to the Pomfret line, where this will be supposedly built.
Thank you, Mr. Danielson. Would anyone else like to introduce themselves per Mr. Olo's suggestion?
I'm Bill Bartu. I live at 382 Chestnut, and the land butts right up against the back of my property.
Mr. Bartu, how do you spell your last name?
Bartoo.
Thank you.
My name is Wesley Bartu. I'm
Okay.
his son. I live across the street, so at 379 Chestnut Street. So my interest is his interest.
Okay,
My name is spelled with an S-E-N.
got it. Duly noted, and we will make sure it's correct in the
I
transcript.
don't want him to spell it wrong.
Danielson,
S-E-N,
S-E-N, Danielson.
Danielson, that's what I said.
Okay.
Greg Peterson, attorney for Phillips Lytle and the IDA, S-O-N.
I think I'll just double check with you at the end.
Okay. Rosie.
I'm Rosie Stramberg. I'm the executive assistant for the IDA.
Okay, and I've already introduced myself. I'm Christine Morbido. I'm a business development manager for the Chautauqua County IDA. Okay, well, thank you for all of the introductions. Is there anyone wishing to be heard with respect to the project or the financial assistance?
I do.
Okay, Mr. Olo?
I have pictures of the piece of land that they're starting to talk about developing. First of all, I have to say that they say it's a solar panel farm. It is not a farm. It's an industrial complex. I don't know of any farms that have to go through a decommissioning process, have a program in place, and also have a bond to make sure that that decommissioning happens. So it can't be classified as a farm, even though they found a loophole to get into agricultural land, because the piece of land that they want to do is purely agricultural. My house is that house right there. And this is a piece of land that they want to take and put solar panel farms on it. You can see that there's farmland over there they could very easily capture. This was done by a drone. This piece of land right here. As you can see, they're fairly nice houses. That's my house right there, and it's going to be right there. So I'm going to leave these here.
Could you show me on the first picture again? Which house is yours? Is it the middle one?
It is that one right there.
Okay, thank you. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, would you like to maybe stand back just a little bit? There you go.
That's
We
perfect.
can see it. Okay, and then point to it.
That house right there.
Thank
Okay.
you. Is there anything else you want to show for the video recording? Thank you, Rosie.
I got a series of pictures. They're all taken by a drone.
Okay.
Why they want to take agricultural land, which is still viable, away for 20 some years, and possibly not being able to put it back into use, we don't know. There's a lot of things that are known about solar panel farms. There's a lot of things that we don't know about solar panel projects, I'm going to start calling them. It's ingrained in my brain right now that it's a farm, but it's a project. That's all it is. The anti-glare is hazardous that they're supposed to put on these panels. The anti-glare, if it leaches off, it goes into the ground, it'll contaminate the water. That water flows directly into Beaver Creek, which then flows into Canaway Creek, which then flows into Lake Erie. It'll contaminate the water because it's hazardous waste. The only reason this solar panel project is going in is because the monies are coming from the state. It is not coming from their own pocket. It is not an entrepreneur's issue. It's coming from the state to promote green energy. This energy is not going into New York State grid. It's going into state of Connecticut, from what I understand, because that's what the administration, the past administration, made a deal with Connecticut that this state would go green and all that energy goes to Connecticut. So I don't know what value it is to us. They're going to clear cut that land, put metal posts in the ground, put solar panels on. The lifespan of that is only 20 years, 25 years max. The efficiency is 5 hours of sunlight per day, typically, if there's sun. And everybody that lives in Western New York knows that to get a sunny day is an oddity. Today is an oddity. The efficiency at our latitude is very different than down in Texas and down in Arizona. We just don't have the sunlight to support this. And if it wasn't for monies from the state, subsidies, everything else, and also from your agency potentially, they wouldn't even consider doing this. How many people are going to be employed afterwards is another issue. They say they're going to have one person monitoring this off-site to continue doing this for the lifespan of this project. I just don't understand how this can happen. I don't want it in my backyard. I don't know if anybody else in this room would like that project in the backyard. It's a bunch of steel, it's a bunch of solar panels, and it's not doing anything. Technology is changing day by day, and this is probably outdated anyway. The solar panels are made in China. The steel, who knows where from? China. They're going to bring in a group of people that have no interest in Chautauqua County to install it. Once they're done, they're going to leave. And I'm going to be faced with a solar panel project behind my house with drainage problems, wildlife that is no longer going to be there, and it's just going to be a dead site for me. I wish I would have never moved back to Western New York. If I would have known that, I would have never built a house where I did in 1997. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else wishing to be heard with respect to the project or the financial assistance?
My comment is that I see the number here. It's a 24.5 acre project. And I remember the map. The project starts over here on Van Buren Road, just around the corner from across the street from my house, not too far from my house. And it goes back the Pomfret line. The city Pomfret line is the line that it's going back on. His backyard is on that line. So that line goes all the way up through there. I never saw this 24.5 acres, that this is the project. Before the project was 40-some acres. I'm wondering to myself, why would they put a little 24 acres in now before they were going to do 40-some acres? That piece of property is directly across the street and across the line from where I own some land over there. Where are you going to get 24 acres in there if it starts at Van Buren Road? There's not, that little piece of property is a narrow piece and I don't have the map, but on the map there's a narrow piece that goes back and then it blossoms out to a bigger piece that goes behind his house. I'm thinking, where is this 24 acres that they're talking about now? We don't know where it is because we're still looking at the old map. In my mind, I think he's lucky that they're not going to put, I don't think they'll put 24 acres right behind his house. And if they don't put 24 acres, if that's where they put it, there's got to be a big road to go back in there. Now we're not talking miles of road, we're talking hundreds of feet. And I owned 400 feet across the street from me many years ago. Well, I'm really familiar with the lines over there. So in my mind, I'm thinking, what are they thinking about? And where is the 24.5 acres? And why aren't they putting in 40 now and substituting 24? This is the first time I've heard about this.
Can I make one more comment?
Sure.
I'll bet he's got a picture of it.
Well, I got a lot of stuff.
Is that all for now, Mr. Danielson?
That's what I have in my mind.
Okay, thank you
You're
for
lucky
your
to get it all.
comments. Thank you. And Mr. Olu? Yes.
I don't know how this developer decided to notify people about this project. I was notified through the mail. I think every one of my neighbors were notified. He's a duly owned property owner, and it's right here on their maps. Nicholas Danielson, his name is on here. He never received any notification of his project. I had to give him this stuff, and he's been faithful to me to come to show his expression of disgust about this whole project, that he wasn't ever even notified. He's probably got the most footage on this piece of land other than the other side in the village of Fredonia. I don't think the Bartos over there got any notification either.
No.
So,
in his property, actually joins the project. There's two sides that are owned by the.
Probably about 600 feet.
yeah. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know how this project developer why he did what he did, why he didn't do what he did, I don't know. It just seems kind of strange that he's probably doing this stuff under the guise of COVID, as far as I know, because he wanted to try to sneak this thing underneath. I don't know. So I'm done for now.
Thank you,
For
Mr.
now. Remember, I said for now.
You can reserve your right to make further comments. Thank you, Mr. Olo. Is there anyone else wishing to be heard with respect to the project or the financial assistance? Yes. And Mr. Bartu,
Yeah.
Wesley
But,
Bartu.
yeah, my dad and I share similar concerns. And I'm speaking because I will,
Inherit.
yeah, I'm gonna inherit the property at some point. So I guess my primary concerns are more long-term than immediate. But in reading through this, it mentions the lease, and perhaps this is gonna change owners and whatever, which is what seems to happen with these kind of projects. And there's a bond that's set aside to decommission this when it, 20 years down the road, apparently. I don't know what the value of the bond is. I heard $250,000, which is to decommission 40 or 20 some acres in 20 years is probably not nearly enough money. But how does this bond follow through if there's different owners? If this RIC should then, if they go belly up, do they get the opportunity to run away from this project? I know enough about how things work that the more layers there are, the easier it is to get away from it. Every time it changes hands, there's a little something in the language where the original owner is no longer responsible, and then the new owner doesn't have to be responsible. So odds are, in 20 years I'm gonna end up with some defunct solar project, and in the backyard there, behind the property, there's just sitting there with trees growing up around it, and nothing gets pulled out of it. The other concern is with the drainage issues, where the property is downhill. I mean, we're downslope from where the solar panels are going to be. There's a drainage swell in between that does not handle the current runoff. Anytime it rains more than an inch, there's standing water that runs off those hills, or the upper land down into the lower areas. And it leaves the lower areas because they're gravel, and the upper lane is clay. So it's naturally going to run off from there. And so we're taking 24.5 acres and clear cutting it, and then putting, in reality, probably 18 acres of solid surface that has to drain somewhere. And I don't know how they intend to deal with that in poorly drained soil. And that's, they have a plan. I don't think it's going to work. It's at the village board meeting, they discussed that the runoff is going to overtax the village, some of the village drainage system. And I don't know if that's, I know there's a county secret report that's supposed to be done that covers some of the environmental aspects. I don't know if any of that's been considered or not. And if the consideration if it's been sugar coated, or if it's been figured in reality. The purpose of this green energy is to deal with supposedly slow down climate change and all that. Well, the result of the climate change is the weather extremes we're getting, which is going to create the increased rainfall for the drainage issues. So I personally feel very strongly that needs to be addressed. I guess another, and then to follow up with what Zen said is, how many local jobs will this create? Is it creating a job? Are there any local contractors that they're getting any piece of the pie to do the land clearing, to do the installations, to do any of that? In reading the IDA's website, your mission statement is to basically retain or create local jobs and keep money in the economy. If they create this project, you know, we don't know who's doing the work. And even if they put it out to bid and they give one local contractor a bid and give the bid to 4 out-of-town contractors, the out-of-town guys do it, so we get, you know, there's no money retained locally. If it creates one full-time job, that's, you know, that's, personally, I don't feel that it's worth what we have to endure to create a job. I'm a small business owner. I could create another, you know, full-time position for somebody that would pay as much as this. And I don't get tax breaks for any of that, and I just want to leave the land the way it is. And then, there's my other note is going back to decommissioning. When it's done, what guarantee as residents do we have that if this thing goes through in 20 years that it will be decommissioned and the land will be put back the way that that it will be restored to what was, you know. And again, if there's a current agreement, that's great, but what solid concrete agreement is in place to ensure that this will happen when this is done, and not be tied up in litigation for 10 years. So then it's 30 years before they decommission it. And, I mean, I'm 44. I hope that in 30 years I'll still be here to see this. I don't know if you gentlemen will be around in 30 years.
I won't be around. I don't want to be around at
I won't be
92.
around.
I don't want to be around at 92.
But at least they're here fighting our fight now. You know, my son will also be heir to the property. He's 13, so I mean, he'll be my age when this thing is done. And what's he going to have to deal with? Is something going to happen? Is he going to have to deal with a really cranky dad because we got kind of blindsided in the beginning? Or?
It's a big price to pay, I think.
Yeah.
This whole project is
It's not very big anymore.
yeah. What was the initial? There was 57 acres out there?
I think there's 55 acres there. And I don't
55
know.
acres, and now it's down to 24.5 acres.
That's what it
And
says.
And they're gonna clear cut that. It seems counterproductive to wipe all that out to build the solar farm with questionable efficiency. But what really works on me is the whole idea of the toxicity involved. And why didn't they choose, they could have chosen a place even down in Dunkirk where the brownfields are. That makes more sense. No clear cutting, just a reuse to someplace else. It's bad. And the drainage back there, and I think people should take a walk back through there after a heavy rain like we've had, and it's nothing but swampy. And
Any place that's low, there's standing water. It doesn't take, once it starts raining in September or October, it doesn't drain until spring. There's just standing water all over the place. I mean, it's probably, I wouldn't guess it's enough to be classified as a wetland, but it just,
Parts of it is.
It just doesn't drain.
There is a part of it that it is wetland, and it's been classified as that, and they're working around that.
this question.
Mr. Bartu, did you say your first name is William? Bill?
Bill,
Bill? Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure I have that correct. Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else wishing to be heard with respect to the project?
I'd like to,
Mr. Danielson?
I don't know if I forgot anything, but I remembered something.
Okay.
I like that.
So do I. I live in Florida probably half of the year, and I came back in April. And of course, Zen watches my house while I'm gone away, so I know Zen pretty well. We know each other pretty well. And right away, he showed me maps and everything about what was going to happen. And I learned who was on the Pomfret board and who was the leader on the board. And I talked to him, and at that time, it sounded to me like Pomfret was going to say, no, they don't want this. And at the same time, other people that lived in Zen's area talked to him, and I talked to some of them. And one of the bad things that the people lived there did, they were talking about berms, they were talking about trees, they were talking about how far it should be, and that it should never, nothing should ever be built there unless something like this is in there. And the only thing I said to the people in Pomfret, and I had no problems, every conversation I had was real good, and it seemed to me like this is not a happy thing for us or the people that have to vote for it. It seemed to me at the time it was a sure thing it was going to get voted down. And I just want to point out that the people that live in this area, they've got beautiful homes. I've lived in that area longer than any of them. And they made a big mistake when they started talking about berms and what kind of grass there was going to be and what kind of trees and how far this is. And it gave the Pomfret the out to ask the company that was going to do this what they would do. Now, in essence, when it got done, behind Zen's house, and there's, how many houses? There are 6, 8 houses?
Yes.
8 that are going to be right on the line, okay? They came back and said, oh, we're going to make this farther away from this area.
Put a berm up.
But that's all. Where my land is, they're not going to do anything. That's open land. I don't care about mine. There's a piece of woods over there that I always thought that someone might come along and say, I would like to put a house out in the middle of that and live there by myself. I might even like that. If I wasn't so old, I might do it myself. But there's nothing going to be done on most of the edge of that, somebody said it was 57 acres. I thought it was 40-some acres. Now it's 24, and I'm still wondering where the 24 acres is. There's do you happen to have a picture of the whole thing? Sam?
Other than that, that's the proposed one right there. That's how it's going to be located. My house is right there.
Where is Van Buren Road on the bottom?
Right there.
Okay. So that's the skinny part right there, right?
Van Buren Road is right here,
I'll tip it up just a little bit. There you go.
and that's the overview of the solar panel farm. Van Buren Road is here. This is where the access road is. My house is in this cul-de-sac right over here, and it's going to be right behind my house. Okay?
And where's the property that Mr. Danielson is referring to?
He owns right over in this area.
Thank you.
Okay? Now, this is a picture that they took. This isn't mine. This is roadside right here. This is my house right here. Okay? They say that these panels will not be visible from my house. However, I have a 2-story house, and my second floor will oversee that whole solar panel farm. This is Kevin Lucas's. Open's over here. And they say it's not going to, we won't be able to see any panels, but my second floor, I got 6 windows up on the second floor, and I'll be looking right over them right now. Because this is the only trees right in back of my house, and half those are ash right now. And I don't know if you know about ash trees. 25% of the woods in New York State are going to be dead. So half those trees are going to be gone. So it's just the waste of wildlife. Wes and I said that we would rather have a cow farm back there with manure than a solar panel farm. At least it would be, after 1 year's use, it would be go back to nature. This right here is not going to go back to nature. So
Thank you both.
I just want to repeat, the 24 acres, I'm asking, why are they thinking about putting a lousy 24 acres in over there now, when there's much more land? And in the area between where that land is and out towards Route 5 west, there's all kinds of places that are wide open that do not have somebody's neighborhood going to be right next to it. I've said just about everything I can remember.
I'm just going to do one more thing.
If I remember something else, I'll
Okay.
ask.
I'm going to say one more thing. This is just something I think about, and I've lost a lot of sleep over this, by the way. New York State wants green energy. I applaud them for it, but make sure you put it in the right spot. They did away, everybody drives a thruway on occasion. Everybody went green, right? Everybody, it's tollless right now, right? Everything is scanned and everything else. Am I right?
Mhm.
You know, you get something in the mail that says if you have a violation, but you have a easy pass and everything else happens. They put this big array of cameras and photo sensors and everything else overhead. Everything is hooked into the power grid, right? Am I right? It's electricity, right? Their backup is a gas-operated generator. The state thruway won't even put solar panels in. Everybody knows our monument out there. I call it the Como's Folly because they got the windmill that doesn't work, hasn't worked in 6 years, and nobody's doing anything about it. We might as well decorate it for Christmas because that's all it's good for. New York State doesn't even follow their own policies when it comes to green energy. Why don't they put solar panels between the thruway lanes, one going east and one going west? There's plenty of open land there. Hook it up to the grid and let it go. No, they have to put it behind my backyard and everybody else's backyard in this room. So I'm done now.
Thank you, Mr. Olo. Did I hear someone
Yeah,
else?
I've got
Wesley?
one more question, or
Mhm.
a couple. It's actually 50 acres back there, I just figured it out, so.
He's good with his phone.
I guess following from Mr. Danielson's comment, because we all spoke to town board members and whatnot, and it seemed like this thing was basically a done deal. And then overnight, it was in the course of a month between board meetings, they completely reversed course and did a 180. I'm curious what the benefits to the town are in their approval of this. What they gained, and I guess being that you folks are here to possibly negotiate a pilot agreement, I'm assuming there's no benefit to the town because the pilot agreement basically takes care of the taxes. Am I correct?
Yeah, the pilot agreement is a payment in lieu of regular property taxes, and it is distributed amongst the taxing jurisdictions, one of which is the town.
Okay. And I'm assuming that it's going to be far less than should these folks have just built this on their own and sought no assistance.
The details are in the application that are published on our
Okay.
website. Yeah.
Okay, all right. And then I guess the other piece of this puzzle that both Zen and I found interesting is that we went to, because we're village residents, not town residents, we went to a village board meeting this month. And they appeared to be equally as stunned as the town reversed course on the decision so quickly. And I'm, you know, at that point, it was too late. We didn't have time to get our elected officials in the village to back us on this, but it seemed, from what they told us, that they had been in contact with the town, and they were under the impression that it was not going to get voted, or not going to get approved. So they, at that point, they kind of just dropped the issue. They didn't have any, there's no further, you know, no further need for discussion. But, and then somehow they switched course, and here we are. And, you know, I don't think we probably have a leg to stand on in anything, but it's just interesting how it's all kind of
Played out.
yeah, it's all meandered around and played out, and you know, we're kind of left chasing our tails, trying to pick up the pieces at the end.
I appreciate your comments.
The reason that it got changed, and that the lines got changed, was because people that lived there were just plain people talking about it. The berms, which they never were gonna put a berm in, that cost money.
Well, that's gone anyway, I think.
Yeah.
No, they're not talking about that. They're talking about yardage and trees, mostly. And the only reason that Pomfret, people in the control of Pomfret, put a question up to the people that are going to build it about the berm and the pond and the land and the trees and the distance. If you were going to build that, what would you say if somebody said, hey, it'd be a good idea if you put another 50 feet in there? They jumped at that just like that. And when they came down and said, yes, we'll do that, the town of Pomfret people voted yes. I was at the meeting that they voted yes, and I could see way ahead of time in the meeting that there were people that were going to vote yes, like that.
It was a done deal before.
I didn't think it was a done deal. I thought it might go 2-3. It went 1-4. And
I think some of them could have got an Emmy for their performance, because they sat there and they thought, and all of a sudden they said, it's, yeah, I gotta vote yes for this project. And it was an Emmy performance, really. I think you were there, weren't you?
I was.
It was taken right from Como. It was an Emmy performance.
What, we've come here, we've expressed our displeasure, we've asked questions. Will our questions be answered? Will our thoughts be considered? What's going to happen with this? I mean, I know this goes on the website, and
Yeah.
maybe somebody's watching it, but has the IDA already made up their mind as to what they're doing? Is this
No.
our foregone conclusion? Are we here?
No, we're currently in our due diligence process. We've received an application. We are, as you mentioned, undertaking a seeker review. There are required steps for us to proceed to review the application and consider whether it would be approved at a later date. Part of that process includes this public hearing where we receive, we post the application online, make it available to the public. We receive comments in this forum and also in writing from the public if they'd like to submit comments in writing. Your pictures will also be included in the report that goes to our board of directors. So they will receive the video, they will receive a transcript summary of this meeting, including all of your comments. And then the CCIDA board of directors will review all of the information from this meeting and all of the other information that's been collected along with the application as part of our due diligence process. All of that will be reviewed thoroughly before they make any final decision with regard to whether to approve the application or not. Now, before I pass it up, I just want to ask our attorney, is there anything I missed that you think would be important?
Well, again, all of this is provided, I just want to, we talked about who must be considered by the IDA. One thing is absolutely, they must get the transcript, everything that's said here today will go to them, and this, what is being proposed will be sent to them, and then they consider it on public hearing, on a publicly noticed hearing at the IDA, when you can read about when that's scheduled in the paper.
With hearing with the board of directors, so we could voice our concerns to them as well.
They would, you can come and see that at that time, you're voicing your concerns here today.
Okay.
And that's what everything you've said here today, they will have.
Okay. Is there, I've asked a couple county officials, but is there an opportunity to send an email or letter or speak with whoever is in charge of the secret report so that they address all of our issues? I spoke with an attorney about it and our date to file suit against the town to have things reviewed. I think it comes and goes tomorrow, so obviously that's not going to be able to happen. But he said that one of the primary issues is that when some, like with some of the wind farms and whatever, one of the primary issues with what happens is that the residents don't feel that the secret report has been completed as fully as as necessary. And trying to find out who we need to talk to about that and everything. I've gotten a lot of, oh yeah, sure, we'll get you a name or an email address, and we haven't gotten anything.
Yeah, so just as comments with respect to the project in general can be submitted to me. It's my email address that's provided in the legal notice and in the document that I shared with you today. If you have, and I would consider those comments also, they would be considered, included with the public hearing transcript. And if you have specific questions with regard to the seeker, they can also be sent to me. And while that's being reviewed, your comments will be reviewed.
And it'll be
also.
Is there a deadline on that?
I think it would make sense to get them to me as quickly as possible. I mean, I am anticipating that we're going to conclude our process before October 1st. So we have a few weeks.
Is the seeker underway? Has it been completed?
It's not completed yet. It's being reviewed now, though.
Okay. Is that done by your?
Through the IDA, and then our attorney, we have environmental attorneys at Phillips Lytle that specialize in environmental review, and they are currently reviewing it. I've seen some of the, dialogue on that. Anything additional that I should mention?
It's a work in progress, so if there are email concepts, now's the time to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any other is there anyone else wishing to be heard with respect to the project or the financial assistance? This has been a very productive public hearing. Thank you all for your comments. It is now 10:53 a.m. Let the record show that other than comments submitted in writing and those made here today, no other members of the public have indicated a desire to comment with respect to the project or the financial assistance. I therefore call this hearing to a close.